Hey guys, DCX here with a new Borderlands 4 build video. This time featuring Amon. This build in particular is probably one of the most fun that I've used in the near 500 hours that I've played Borderlands 4 since it came out. Yeah, 500 hours, I know. A lot of that's been streaming and gathering data for Iridium.com. But all worth it, all worth it. Either way, this build focuses on making sure that we have an unlimited use of rockets from our heavy ordnance rocket launcher, which is a ton of fun. I will also say it's probably not as effective as using a laser beam, heavy ordnance laser beam, or just like a heavy ordnance machine gun. I think those do slightly more damage, but the rocket launcher with infinite rockets is way more fun. Way more fun. So I'll do a little showcase like I've done with previous videos so you can see the build in action, and then we'll go over it. So starting with the gear, obviously we use heavy ordnance rocket launcher. The one that I have is called the Junk Drunk Whiff Sniff. Certainly an interesting name, but this one has, fire rate, which increases the fire rate by 30%, and scanning, rockets home toward nearby enemies. So we get to fire these indefinitely, infinitely. We fire them quickly, and they home in on our targets. The rep kit, again, I use a kill spring for mobbing. If you've seen my other videos, you'll understand I swear by the kill spring for mobbing, just because the kills will give you healing, and that healing can also heal into overshield. It's just a godsend. For this build, I go with blood siphon, the large kill spring with speed, just so we can move quicker, because when we're using a heavy weapon, we move much slower. For the class mod, there's a few options here. I do run with this one in particular, and that's because it has 45% ordnance damage and then 20% damage dealt. But it also has +2 to Tail of the Comet and +4 Wrath of Nature and +1 Stoked. All those things increase our damage. So Stoked is a fire rate increase. Wrath of the Nature is, I think, a cryo application, but we'll check it. And Tail of the Comet basically means whenever you deal ordnance damage, you apply a cryo damage over time effect. I'll get into the skill tree shortly, but we also run a super shield for the increased fire rate and the movement speed and the regen 1 ammo a second. This one that I have also has siphon, which is a nice bonus, but ultimately you just want a super soldier because of the fire rate, the movement speed, and the ability to regenerate extra ammo. For enhancement, there's no specific manufacturer that you want, and from what I can tell, the manufacturer traits don't affect heavy ordnance. Tested this a few times, and I can't get any of the enhancement manufacturer bonuses to affect heavy ordnance weapons. Maybe that's just me, maybe I've missed something, but that's the case. So with that in mind, we do know that gun damage affects heavy ordnance weapons. So gun damage, gun splash damage, gun fire rate, gun critical damage, all those things will affect heavy ordnance weapons. You do have to be mindful, though, of having too much fire rate. So if you have too much fire rate, you're going to fire too quickly and you're going to run out of ammo, and you won't have the unlimited ammo effect. So you want to target gun damage and gun splash damage, particularly because Super Soldier is already giving us 25% fire rate. And I've found that if you have too much fire rate, you'll run out of bullets. So rather than stacking fire rate, you want to stack gun damage. So in this case, we go with gun damage, gun splash damage. The gold roll here would be gun damage, gun splash damage, gun critical damage. Firmware, mine's all over the place at the moment, but you want 1 in get thrown. You want 2 in high caliber, so you can get the 10% gun damage. And you also want 2 in gadget ahoy, the 20% ordnance damage there. All right, let's have a look at the skill tree now. We'll start with the blue tree. So the class mod that I had in the gear had +4 Wrath of Nature. So this increases status effect application chance and cryo effectiveness. I mean, it's not a game breaking, but it's nice to have. We do spec 5 out of 5 into Scorched Kairos. And this is because it gives us 30% ordnance damage and magazine size. Make sure that, you know, we have a better chance of not running out of ammo. We run 5 out of 5 Battleborn, 20% gun damage when health is full, and double at maximum health. 5 out of 5 Tail of the Comet. Whenever Amon deals ordnance damage, which is what we're doing all the time, there's a chance to apply a cryo status effect that deals cryo damage over time for a duration. So this is super important because all our rockets are firing ordnance damage. So each one has a 30% chance to apply a cryo status effect that deals a dot damage. And this is important because how we regenerate ammo is through primal surge. Whenever Amon applies a status effect to an enemy, there is a chance to partially restore his shield and ammo. Okay? So we're firing rockets. We have a 30% chance to apply a cryo status effect. And when that happens, we restore 30% of our ammo. Combined with Blackout, ordnance damage has a chance to critically hit. More importantly, additionally, critical hits from direct ordnance damage applies shock. So we crit an enemy, we apply shock. Status effect, a 30% chance to apply a cryo status effect, and both of those things are restoring 30% of our ammunition. That's how we keep up ammo indefinitely. That's how we can fire rockets without ever having to run out or switch weapons. For the red tree, we put 3 out of 3 into Impeders, and the reason for this is because, as I said before, while we're holding a heavy weapon, we move quite slow. We have a movement speed penalty. We're trying to raise that by increasing our movement speed here as well. 2 out of 5, what burns within, because we have to put 2 points somewhere. This one is the one that makes the most sense. 1 out of 3, Gut Punch. Gut Punch will decrease the damage that enemies do to us and increase the damage that they take. Ordnance damage has a 10% chance. It works well enough. 4 out of 5, Wheeled Storm. Amon gains increased status effect damage and status effect duration. More damage, more duration. 5 out of 5, Bolt Storm. Whenever Amon applies a status effect, he gains increased gun damage. It stacks. Because we apply status effects quite quickly, this gun damage really screams up quite quickly. And lastly, we put 4 out of 5 into Catastrophe. Whenever Amon applies shock to an enemy, he gains increased critical hit chance for a duration. Whenever Amon applies burning to an enemy, he gains increased critical hit damage for a duration. It stacks. I can only afford to put 4 out of 5 points into here, but it's enough. We run with Onslaughter, and we also run with Force of Nature. So Force of Nature will make our damage do bonus incendiary damage. So I run with a kinetic rocket launcher. By default, it does kinetic damage. 30% chance to apply a cryo status effect. On crit, it will apply it will shock enemies for a shock status effect. And when our augment Force of Nature is active, all our rockets are doing bonus incendiary. Well, let's check the specialization tree. I haven't got a ton of points available here for Amon. I only have 62. But the most important thing is you want to put 10 points into Survivor and 10 points into Brute so that you can unlock the Gadgeteer column. And that's because we want to get Fragmentation Payload. Ordnance gains a chance to critically hit enemies and also gains increased Ordnance critical hit damage. And obviously Full Spectrum Arsenal, which is Ordnance damage now benefits from increases to gun damage. These two provide a big damage boost to our ordnance damage and are pretty much essential for the build. If you have the points, I'd recommend putting 20 into brute so you can get rid of this, because that will also increase our gun damage. Beyond that point, I think the best fourth perk would be compounding afflictions because of how often we can apply status effects. In the meantime, I've been using in the zone while aiming. The Vault Hunter gains increased gun damage and critical hit damage per second. And that's it. That's the build. It's a ton of fun. Like it's certainly not as effective as using a machine gun or a beam, and you're not going to kill bosses as quickly as, say, a Vex Bleed Bloodshot build is being nerfed this week. But it's a ton of fun. It's one of the most fun builds I've had in Borderlands 4 so far. If you're looking for something a little bit out of the norm that is still capable of smashing through UVH5, I would definitely recommend giving this build a shot. That's it, guys. Again, I'll put more clips at the end for you to have a look at. If you enjoyed this video, you found it helpful, I would love a like and subscribe. Continue to put out more builds as I come across them. There will be more updates to iridium.com towards the end of October or early October, I would say. In the meantime, catch me on stream on Twitch or here on YouTube. And yeah, just have a great week, guys, and I'll catch you later.